Hello everyone. In this video we're going to be taking a look at an article from July 30th from The Guardian, written by Matt Stoller. It's Opinion Technology, or I should say Opinion from their Technology section. Here's the thing. You look at the title here. Congress forced Silicon Valley to answer for its misdeeds. It was a glorious sight. Now you would think that Guardian finally got on board with them being about censorship. No, this is a complete distraction. Now don't get me wrong. Silicon Valley has done like some major shifty, shady things on the note of how they operate. Whether it be, stealing intellectual, they've actually been caught, selling Chinese knockoffs that they've, ordered. Like Amazon has had, products made to compete with stuff that other people were selling through them that they basically blatantly copied in, with a cheap Chinese knockoff. You have, these companies buying out other companies that are a threat to them. You basically have them acting like these like scumbags. Don't get me wrong, but the focus should be on the fact of they're being questioned about free speech, and they just completely play nothing to see here. It's so funny. Anyway, but you look at like I said, it's a glorious sight. But look at the lead in here. The 5.5 hour long hearing on Capitol Hill offered a stunning illustration of the extent of misdeeds by big tech. But censorship. Oh, that never happened. No, nothing to see here. They literally at the end of the article, this Stoller shitbag. It's like, the censorship, nothing to see there, nothing happened. That's just people on the right whining and bitching. That's conservatives just being like babies. It's so funny. Like, not happening. Putting his fingers in his ears, going, no. It's so funny. Anyway, let's get into the article here. Our founders would not bow before a king. We should not bow before the emperors of the online economy. That's how Congressman David Cicilline started the remarkable hearing on Wednesday in the Antitrust Subcommittee, where four tech CEOs, Tim Cook of Apple, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, Sundar Pichai of Google, and Jeff Bezos of Amazon, finally had to answer questions about how their business operated. And the answers they gave weren't pretty. The word both Republican and Democrats used to describe their corporations was dominance. And as members unspooled the evidence they had collected in an investigation over the past year, it was easy to see why. This is what's funny. The conservatives, most of it was about censorship. All right. And that they're saying, look, right here, they follow suit with us. But they disavow the whole censorship thing. This is what's funny. So they're talking about the evidence that the conservatives brought here. And they're saying it benefits them, his bullshit here, when most of it was about the censorship. And then at the end, he goes, nothing to see with the censorship. This goes to show how dishonest Stoller is here. This guy's a complete scumbag. Almost any moment of the 4-hour hearing offered a stunning illustration of the extent of the bad behavior of these corporations. Take Amazon, whose CEO, Jeff Bezos, often seemed off balance and unaware of his corporation's own practices. No, he knew what was going on. He might not have had involvement in the day-to-day, but he knows the big picture. So don't try to play it like that. If you were talking about Jack from Twitter, he's, from everything I've seen, you look at the handler he had on the Joe Rogan podcast with Tim Pool, he's just a puppet CEO. He's a paper CEO. All right. He looks good. They throw him up there. There's people behind the company that are actually running it. And this is actually more common than you would think. There are a lot of paper CEOs out there that actually have no power, and it happens with a lot of startup and venture cap, because of venture capital. They come in, they don't want us to have, appearance of they've got some corporate scumbag running it, and they'll take the person who started the company or whatever else, or someone within the company that they think looks good. On paper, they're the CEO, but they have no real power, no real decision-making capabilities. And that's a jack. Bezos ain't like that. It's so funny. Anyway. But he was off balance and unaware of his corporation's own practices. I'm sorry, I just found that funny. Congresswoman Lucy McBath played audio of a seller on Amazon tearfully describing how her business and livelihood was arbitrarily destroyed by Amazon, restricting sales of their product for no reason the seller could discern. Bezos acted surprised, as he often did. It could be the fact that Amazon was offering something else and they didn't like the competition. They've been known to do that, but hey, whatever. Representative Jamie Raskin presented an email from Bezos saying about one acquisition that we're buying market position, not technology. Bezos then admitted Amazon buys companies purely because of their market position, demonstrating that many of hundreds of acquisitions these tech companies have made were probably illegal. Not necessarily true, because if there's still competition in the market, if that's not a direct competitor and they're buying it out, but it's still competition, that's not necessarily illegal. Sorry. I think they're complete scumbags, but I'll be at least honest, unlike you. I mean, you're very dishonest here. I mean, you make this about this and you say, well, the Republicans backed this shit when the Republicans were mostly there about the whole thing of censorship. I mean, you're a dishonest person here, guy. Mark Zuckerberg had to confront his own emails in which he noted that Facebook's purchase of Instagram was done to buy out a competitor. His response was that he didn't remember, but that he imagined he was probably joking when he wrote that. Sure he was. The Android was joking. I didn't know, he got an emotion chip like Data had. Sure, okay. One congresswoman on Joe Biden's vice presidential shortlist, Val Dennings, asked Zuckerberg why he restricted Facebook's tools for competitors like Pinterest, but not for non-competitors like Netflix. He had no answer. Well, I thought the left had no problem with them being a private company with all the censorship of conservatives. Now all of a sudden they got a problem with it. You got to love their double standards. Because he had no answer. Oh, Congressman David Cicilline asked about Facebook promoting incendiary speech and making money off of advertising sold next to that speech. So basically, he's upset about advertisements that Trump campaign advertisements that called out Biden for being a senile old fuck. He's upset about the fact of conservatives. There's no censorship, but he's talking about incendiary speech. Anything that's right of Karl Marx these days to the left is incendiary speech. I don't understand how this dipshit Stoller here can say, oh, there's no censorship going on, and you literally have David Cicilline, however you pronounce his name, talking about incendiary speech, which is another term for hate speech, which is another term for censorship, because there is no such thing as hate speech. Hate speech was literally a term concocted by the former Soviet Union so that it could censor people, so that it could use it across the world and have the world adopt it, so that they could say, you're talking negatively about us. That's hate speech. And have those people censored. It's literally come out that was their plan with it. But the cultural, identitarian, identity politics, far left co-opted it. And they're taking it to new levels. And you have shitbags like Cicilline here going along with it. And I love this. So Zuckerberg pivoted to free speech talking points, and Cicilline cut him off. This isn't a speech issue. It's about your business model. No, it is a speech issue. This isn't about free speech. You literally have this shipwreck, okay, Cicilline, going after Zuckerberg, and him surprisingly saying, making points about free speech. And you get this asshole saying, oh, this isn't about free speech. This is about your business model. So what, his business model can't include free speech? Since when? If I was the Android, I would have said, well, excuse me, but if free speech is part of my business model, yes, it is, sir. And it is. Which would open Facebook up to having to be more of a free speech platform, but it would have shut him down. Big tech's dominance has serious consequences. America has lost thousands of media outlets because of the concentration of ad revenue in the hands of Google and Facebook. 2/3 of American counties now have no daily newspaper. See, this is what upsets him, is that his fellow members of the shitbag legacy media, okay, the dinosaur press, they've lost a lot of their jobs, okay, and they don't like the fact, they might be told to go learn to code. Remember? That was considered hate speech on Twitter, to tell a journalist to go learn to code. When they told all of America, they told coal workers, they told everyone who's lost their jobs to go learn to code. When you would think about it, if coding was that easy, number one, everyone would be doing it. And number two, if you actually convince people to go learn to code, and they actually do, there are only finite jobs that you have to code. And now companies like Facebook and Twitter and all these other companies like Disney, And, other companies are like outsourcing all of their like coding and shit to like India or everything else. So you have a finite number of jobs, not to mention the H-1B visa types that are coming in to take those jobs. So yeah, go learn to code. That makes a lot of sense. That's what he's upset about, is the fact that they have to go find other types of employment. And you notice he didn't say independent local newspapers. He just doesn't like the fact that there aren't local newspapers, because we got to bombard them on the local level with the propaganda and the legacy media bullshit. We have to indoctrinate these people. We're the ones who decide what they think, what they feel, what they believe. They don't like that the internet has... See, this isn't the thing. He's got a problem with this, and he's saying, well, it's because Google controls 2/3 of the advertising revenue. No, that has nothing to do with it. Because you have independent outlets that are able, online, through their own means, through finding other advertising or selling their own products or a combination of that and other things, to support themselves, to be profitable, because they're leaner, because they're meaner, because they're able to adapt. And the legacy media is not able to do that. And they don't want that competition. So it's got to be the fact that it's Google's ads. It can't be the fact that you're all entitled wannabe, dictators that want to be able to tell us what to do, and virtue signal and browbeat us into doing shit that we don't want to. No, that has nothing to do with it. That hasn't led to Americans saying fuck you and going online for independent opinion and reporting and everything else. Hey, but whatever. The nation lost 100,000 independent businesses from 2000 to 2015, a drop of 40%, many due to Amazon's exploitation of legal advantages, from the avoidance of sales tax to its apparent violation of antitrust laws and underpricing rivals. Now, here's the thing. I'm sorry, but they're not avoiding sales tax. Now that they have distribution centers in these states where there are sales tax, they should be collecting. But if you're in a different state, all right, it's not your responsibility to collect sales tax, like New Hampshire. All right. Not my state. No one in business in my state's responsibility to collect sales tax for, say, Maine or Massachusetts or Vermont. And they've tried to get New Hampshire to collect sales tax for them. And you know what New Hampshire's told them? Go fuck yourself. I mean, they put it nicer than that, but they went, go fuck yourself. We're not going to collect sales tax. You want that sales tax, then what you do is you have your residents report the sales tax, which is what they're supposed to do. But because they won't do that, they want to... I mean, if I go into, say, Walmart, and I say I lived in Massachusetts, and I go into Walmart, and I buy an $800 TV, that's 5% sales tax for Massachusetts, okay? So 5 cents on the dollar. So if it was $800, that's $40. That's $40 that Mass lost out on. And they want Walmart, operating in New Hampshire, to collect the sales tax. A small mom and pop shop, you go and buy something from them, a stove, a TV, whatever. We'll just stick with the appliances because it's just easier. They expected them to do this. It's ridiculous. These people are ridiculous. So if Amazon didn't have distribution centers or anything like that in a state, and they didn't collect sales tax, you're trying to say that they're dodging it? How the hell were they dodging sales tax? It's not their responsibility. This idiot is ridiculous. He's like conflating one thing with another. I mean, he's ridiculous. I mean, avoidance of sales tax. If you're legally not entitled to pay it, that's not avoiding it. And this idea of his apparent violation of antitrust laws, underpricing rivals. Okay, they've done some shady shit. Like I said, they've cloned and copied products that people have been selling. And yeah, they've been shifty about that. I got no disagreements on that note. Hundreds of thousands of merchants now depend on Amazon's platform to sell goods, and Amazon has systematically hiked fees on them. That's another thing they've done. Just a few years ago, these third-party merchants paid 19% of their revenue to Amazon. Now it's up to 30%, which is, coincidentally, the amount Apple demands from hundreds of thousands of app makers who have to reach iPhone users. Well, no, they could choose not to. There are a bunch of apps that aren't on iPhone that are on Android. What's your point? It's no secret why small business formation has collapsed since the last financial crisis. These giant platforms tax innovation. But it's not exactly a tax. See, this is how dishonesty is. If I have an app for Android, I can sell it on multiple app stores. There are multiple app stores out there. I don't have to choose, the Google Play Store. It's the place where I'm going to get the most exposure. It's the place where I'll probably see the most eyes, or the most eyes will see me, and I'm going to get the most downloads from probably that. But I don't have to go with it. They're trying to portray it like you don't have an option, at least on the note of Android. But Apple, they lock their phones down, good luck. I mean, there are people who are jailbreaking them, but you know what I mean, It's not like you can just sideload something. It's called capitalism, by the way. They have the platform where you can sell your shit and they're taking a commission. Yes, they are middlemen and they're, probably taking more than they should, but they are the middleman. They are getting a commission. They provide a service. I mean, what do they actually provide? The fact that they're the central location for most people. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's not taxing them. That's making money. You might not agree with it. You might not agree with their tactics. I mean, I don't agree with their tactics. I don't agree with how much they're claiming, for a percentage. But it's business. Not stealing. It's not taxing them. It's not being sleazy about it. And then there's the fear. I have reported on small and medium-sized businesses frightened to come forward with stories of how they are abused by counterfeiting or unfair fees by the Goliaths. As one told me about his relationship to Amazon, I'm a hostage. Well, you could sell on eBay, you could sell in other places, but okay. Fortunately, the voices of small business people afraid of retaliation came through their elected leaders. I pay 20% of my income to Uncle Sam in taxes and 30% to Apple, one member of Congress noted she heard from business people. Representative Ken Buck, Republican from Colorado, talked about one of the few courageous business people who testified openly months ago, the founder of PopSockets, who had been forced to pay $2 million to Amazon just to get Amazon to stop allowing counterfeits of its items sold on the platform. Well, all right, let's walk this back a little bit here. Yeah, you pay 20% of your income to Uncle Sam and then 30% to Apple. Technically, you don't, because you pay 30% of the revenue you take in, and then your income's derived from that 70%. So technically not correct. And there's also the fact that you could choose to sell someplace else. You do not have to sell where you're selling. Just rely on Android sales. Only sell to people who have Apple phones that are, iPhones that are jailbroken. You have options. I'm not saying that what they're doing is right. I'm just saying you can't portray this as they're taxing people when they created this ecosystem from the start, like Apple, all right, where you have no choice but to use their store. They did that from the start. And now you want to act like, oh no, woe is me. You knew this was going to end up in this place. Why didn't you speak up from the start? Why didn't regulators say something back then? Because, I don't know, let's see, Apple and Google and other Silicon Valley companies have pumped shit tons of money into the DNC and Democrats and everything else. Now the Democrats want to act like that they're going after them for this shit. Bullshit. This is lip service. And then the thing about Amazon selling counterfeits, they shouldn't be selling counterfeits on their platform. It really is that simple. They're supposed to be a reputable company. That means that there shouldn't be fakes being sold on their platform. End of story. And then they shouldn't be charging someone $2 million to make sure it doesn't happen again. That makes absolutely no sense. That right there, that should have had business regulators up their ass saying, so basically you're saying you're going to sell illegal goods on your platform unless they pay you $2 million. That's extortion. They should have been fined for that. Another Republican representative, Kelly Armstrong, went into details of Google's use of tracking to disadvantage its competitors in advertising, joined by Democrat Pramila Jayapal, who asked Google's CEO why the corporations kept directing ad revenue from its own network of properties instead of sending ad traffic to the best available result. Because they're a sleazy, scummy business. You didn't realize, they started doing this shit a long time ago, like when the censorship started, back when the MPAA said we don't like relevant hits to like backing up your DVDs, or DECSS, which is legitimate. DECSS, all right, it's clean encryption, like decrypting, like it's, as long as it's not compiled, people can look at it. It's a learning experience. You compile it, you're technically breaking the law. But they were delinking source code from search results for DECSS when a court ruled it's legitimate. Because it's the source code that was being put on the internet. Now, if it was compiled, they said it's a different story, but they were literally like delinking the source code itself. Now it's kind of moot, but back then this was a big thing, and it's just gone downhill from there. They've done it with 2016, and it's just getting worse now. Give me a break. So if they're doing it on that note, it evolved to where they were like, you know what, we can make even more money if we put it to like our links and stuff like that, and we refer shit to our own thing. That's what they were doing, because they said, hey, it works here, let's work it to our advantage there. It's evolution. Over and over, the CEOs had similar answers. I don't know. I'll get back to you. I'm not aware of that. Or long rambling attempts to deflect, followed by members of Congress cutting them off to get answers to crisp questions. I learned two things from the surprisingly wan response of these powerful men. First, they had not to deal with being asked for real answers about their business behavior for years, if ever. And so they were not ready to respond. I think they were expecting this to an extent, and they knew the Democrats weren't going to talk about the free speech shit or anything like that. I think they got heads up, because when you're pumping millions of dollars into the DNC and a bunch of Democrats, coffers, their political coffers, they're going to give you a heads up. I'm just saying. That's why they give the money to the politicians. And two antitrust enforcers for the last 15 years, stretching back to the Bush and Obama administrations, bear massive culpability for the concentration of wealth and power in the hands of these corporations. They were allowed to do it by both sides. At least you can admit that. I'm sure, there wasn't like any, hey, let's throw a shit ton of money to Obama, or hey, let's throw some money to Bush. That helped that happen. The emails and information that Congress dug up were available to these enforcers, who nonetheless approved merger after merger and refused to bring complaints against anti-competitive behavior. Why would they? You didn't know that maybe they might be getting their palms greased too? I'm going to think there's a lot of corruption going on here. Anyway, it's rare to see Congress cover itself in glory, but believe it or not, that's what happened. Well, a few Republicans, like ranking member Jim Jordan, spent the hearing yelling about the supposed persecution of conservatives on social media. Most of the subcommittee focused on genuine business problems. Though that is a business problem, because if you're operating under Section 230 and you're supposed to be a platform and you're censoring people because of their political ideology and because of the fact that what would be considered normal speech before the left Spurg squad said that, like, for example, on the note of what was acceptable speech a few years ago, say, for example, the idea of if you said that someone who's trans, that is transitioning to women, is still biologically a man, matter of fact of science, if you said that a couple of years ago, you'd be perfectly fine. Now that's considered hate speech, and you get censored. Which, who conveniently would say something like that besides a TERF? Okay, a conservative. So conservative says something like that, they get censored, but there's no censorship going on. But that's because it was hate speech. But it's this roundabout, never-ending vicious circle that they've created so that they can censor people. And now, heaven forbid they get questioned on it. Well, nothing to see here with the censorship. They're being persecuted. Oh no, the conservatives aren't being censored. I'm a libertarian and I'm censored as all fucking hell on YouTube. This is while on BitChute and other platforms, I'm seeing growth. Well, on YouTube, I have a few people who might get alerted to my shit. And I've got the same stagnant numbers I've had for God only knows how long. I had a little bump not too long ago. But it's because I did a video that somehow, because of the subject matter or whatever else, it slipped through the YouTube censorship algorithms. But yeah, I mean, so there's no censorship. Yeah, sure, okay. Stoller, Toller, whatever your name is, dude, you're an idiot. It's not persecution, okay, of conservatives. It's censorship of them. But anyway, so most of the subcommittee focused on genuine business problems. Dude, you're like a petulant child here. Even most Republicans focused on anti-conservative bias recognize the ability to constrain conservative voices originated as a function of market power. No! What the hell are you talking about? It just happens that they're the dominant platforms and that they are censoring. That market power is just a side benefit of it, because they would still do their censorious bullshit if they weren't as big as they were. To try to play like, oh, well, they only did it because of their market power is diluted. It really is. As David Cicilline put it, these companies, as they exist today, have monopoly power. Some need to be broken up. All need to be properly regulated and held accountable. And then he quoted Louis Brandeis, who said, we can have democracy in this country, or we can have great wealth concentrated in the hands of the few, but we can't have both, which is complete bullshit. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. You can have concentrated wealth in the hands of the few, because even though they have that wealth in a democracy, in a free market economy, okay, in an economy based on freedom, you can have people rise up. If you look at what democracy has done, okay, yes, that it has created people that have a shit ton of money, okay, these few people, everywhere it's been brought. But it raises the level of wealth of everyone else in the country. That's what democracy does. So you have to look at that and say, okay, yes, that's a matter of fact, and you have to ignore what was said here, because it makes no sense. Because literally, you look at all these developing countries, as democracy has come in, as more freedom has come in, okay, the standard of living of the lower classes goes up. While those wealthy people might get wealthier, those few at the top, or those, on the note of the wealth scale, they might get even richer, but the people on the lower end get wealthier as well. Anyway, I've covered this well enough. I'm going to leave things here. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video, when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.